Alright everyone, welcome into the house. So, per the request of Big AZ, I'm going to go ahead and do my my review. I'm going to start up my review series. Again, all I asked you guys to do was just submit any strategy, whether it's from your channel, whether it's your own strategy, whether it's a strategy you saw on YouTube. Again, I was kind of preferring to use YouTube strategies, so it's easier for me to just go watch the video myself. I can hear it explained from the creator. Or, you know, if there is no creator, if it's just like the Iron Cross or whatever, then I could just give you my take on that as well. But anyways, I got my cheat sheet right here, so let's get right into it. I'm gonna set a point, and this is more just for tradition. I don't actually have any money out here, so let's just set 1 point and let's get talking. All right, it looks like that's gonna be a 5 and a 3. 5, 3, 8. All right, so now that we've set the point, puck is on, and let's get to it. All right, so first and foremost, guys, make sure you go check out Big AZ. He's got some good stuff on his channel. He's a frequent player of Monday Night Craps, and he always is going for it, and I appreciate that. It's always fun having him in Monday Night Craps. All right, so this strategy was he told me in the comments it was the Don't Pass 2.1, the Don't Pass for Dummies version 2.1. I think you meant version 5.1, because I couldn't find 2.1. You said it was the aggressive one, which in your video about the 5.1 version, you explained basically the exact same thing you said in the comments. So I'm just assuming you meant version 5.1. Okay, so basically how I'm going to do these videos, I'm just going to break them down by a certain amount of characteristics of every strategy. First, we're going to go through like what bankroll you need to play. We're going to talk about the types of comps you could get from this strategy, the volatility of it, the time at the table. I'm going to add in what I think would be like a skill range of like how much, basically that's talking about the knowledge of a craps player would need to play that strategy. The type of player that would play that strategy, basically the type of player it best suits. Pros and cons. I'm going to throw in just a little bit about the dealers, just how well, again, I'm not a dealer. I've never worked in the casino business, so this is not from a dealer perspective. I'm just kind of throwing out what I would assume the dealers would think of this strategy. And what I mean by that is just like how much work is it for the dealers, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Then lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about would I play it, and any side notes, any other notes that I wrote down about the strategy that I think were important. And then last but not least, we'll do just my overall opinion of it. Again, guys, I want to state that this is by no means, you know, just because I say I don't like a strategy, that doesn't mean it can't win, and it's nothing personal. It's just my personal take. And I'm not saying I don't like this strategy. I'm just saying for all strategies, if I say I don't like your strategy, don't take it personally. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying it sucks or anything like that. It's just that I personally, maybe I wouldn't play it, or it just doesn't fit me. That doesn't mean it's bad or anything like that. So anyways, let's get started here, guys. Let's get started with, I think I mentioned bankroll. And I believe in his video, he started with a bankroll of $500 in one of his first videos of when he announced that strategy. He started with about $500. If you were to go watch that, spoiler alert, at one point he does get pretty far down in his bankroll. And that's why my recommendation for this strategy It's not just that reason. It's also I tested it out here, playing around a little bit. I would say you probably should bring a little more than that, maybe 600 to. I wouldn't go as far as 800. I mean, by all means, if you have 800, go ahead. But the range I wrote down was about 6 to 750 would be a solid range where you're going to get a very long time to play if you bring 750. The only reason I bumped up the bankroll in my recommendation was because, as you saw in the video, if you get on a hot roll, you need a bankroll. And we're going to talk about that in a little more depth in just a second. So that's my recommendation for this strategy is you're probably going to need about 600 to 750, somewhere around there. However, he plays it with 500, and you know, if you're a little short bankrolled, I'm sure you could still play this, and you could probably still win with just the 500. I wouldn't take less than that is what I'm saying, is I wouldn't take less. We'll move on to, as I was just talking about, time at the table. I think it's great. I think you could really play a long time with this strategy, even with that $500 bankroll. I think you could reasonably play for maybe not the whole day with 500, but you could reasonably play for a good, you know, depends on what I guess you classify as all day. If you classify all day as like 4 to 6 hours, then by all means. But if you mean like 12 to 14 hours of playing off and on or whatever, you know, obviously it depends on how the dice are rolling, how many players are at the table, and all the other variables that I can't really guess. But I would say comfortably you could play this for hours and hours and hours. If you're winning, obviously, then that's going to extend. But I'm kind of accounting for what I would believe would be some losses and some wins, and then your eventual, okay, let's call it a day type of thing. So I would say you could probably get 5 to 6 hours out of this strategy before either you might get bored and you want to change it up, or whatever. So I'd give this time at the table, I'd probably, you could comfortably play for 4 or 5 hours. It's plenty of action. You're going to have some fun playing this strategy. So I wrote down that the time at the table for this strategy is really good. It's solid. If that's what you're looking for in a strategy, it's a good one for that. Volatility. Surprisingly, I'm kind of writing in my notes, it's low to moderate, and I wrote down I was going to go with like a moderate volatility. I was going to just say my opinion of it was pretty moderate, but I think I was a little biased with how either how good or how bad your first video was on it, of how hot of a roll that you got on in that video. So in all honesty, those hot rolls like that, they don't happen that often. And it's kind of just unfortunate luck if you're playing the dark side on those hot rolls. So that's why I actually say it's probably a little lower than you saw. I mean, you saw him almost lose $500 in the span of minutes. I think that's more of an extreme case, but again, it can happen for sure. It can happen. But also I wanted to add in the range of low to moderate because you're playing some of the best bets in the whole casino. And you're not playing them that high of value. I mean, yeah, the pass line is $30 or the don't pass is $30 a bet. So that's a little higher for a $500 bankroll. If it was just the don't with odds, the 500 would be great. I mean, your time at the table would be, you could play all day like that. But the fact that he does a continual don't come and he puts more odds on the 4 and the 10, not just one number, that's the reason why I'm saying it's the time at the table is not as long as if you just had the one bet. But anyways, I still think the volatility is low to moderate and the time at the table is great. Next, let's go into the comps. The comps, again, I wrote down, you're going to get good comps from this. Again, guys, I want to hark on the fact that comps are casino to casino. just because one casino gives you really good comps for your play doesn't mean the casino down the road is going to give you the same amount of comps for that same amount of play. They might all have different standards. They may have different rules or whatever. So you're not going to get the same comps at every casino. However, why I wrote down that the comps should be good for this strategy is because you're consistent. That is one of the biggest things that I look for in a strategy. If I'm looking for comps, is how consistent are my bets. And especially the casinos love flat bets, like the don't pass or the don't come. Those are good bets that they can rate your play on, and especially in this strategy where you're constantly putting money on the table, if you're not getting good comps out of this strategy, go find a different casino. Go find another casino that'll give you comps, because you should be getting comps with this strategy. Again, just want to add in the note that I've never worked for a casino. I don't have any of that experience, but it's just based on my personal experience talking with casinos and stuff like that. So if you want to tell me I'm wrong, go ahead. Okay, next, let's do the skill range. Skill range of this, I put a little bit above beginner, basically like a beginner, maybe an advanced, and then like an expert level or so to say. I put this just kind of a little bit above beginner level. It is a money intensive strategy. You do need a big bankroll, or like a beginner. I wouldn't expect a beginner to just randomly bring $500 and start playing craps his first or her first time. However, if someone like that, or if someone had that type of money, I think a beginner could pick this up really quickly, without really having to understand the whole game of craps that much. But again, I don't think this is just a strategy like a beginner could just walk up to the table without ever learning about craps and just walk up and be like, hey, I want to play this, but I don't really understand it. I don't think they could do that. So I'm saying it's it doesn't take like an expert level of knowledge about craps to be able to play this. Just a little bit above beginner. Like you've played craps a few times, you understand the pass line, the don't pass, the don't come, the come. Those are generally like some of the first things you learn when you're learning how to play. So that's why I'm putting it just kind of one step above beginner, which is good. That's good, because then a lot more people can play it. So the type of player that this strategy best suits. So as far as in my range of what type of player are you, this is it's above a grinder. I would say on the scale, it's actually closer to a go big, go home, because you are putting a lot of money out there. You're bringing a big bankroll, and you're putting a lot of money out there on the table. But it's not, I wouldn't quite go to that level. I'd say it's like kind of just below a go big, go home player, but well above a like kind of grinder. Like this strategy is definitely not like, normally you're not just going there to make $50 or whatever. You're going to like double your money or more, at least that was my perception of this strategy. Also, just the type of player it best suits, obviously, is the dark side. The dark side player, if you like playing the dark side, obviously this strategy is for you. If you're a light side player, then you're not gonna have much appeal to this strategy. So this is mainly, I don't think even half of the players play the dark side, and I honestly think more people should play the dark side because it is technically the better spot to play. It is the better side to be on. Not trying to sway anyone in one way or the other, but yeah, I think it's a good strategy. It's just more for dark side players. So some of the negatives and positives. We'll go through the negatives first. Come out sevens. You're putting your most money out there at like one time normally is that $30 don't. Obviously, the most money is when you put the $30 plus the odds, but your biggest like flat bet is the $30 don't. So if you get a few rolls of come out sevens, ouch. That's why I also, with the bankroll, I bumped up the bankroll a little bit, because if you hit a bunch of come out sevens like right off the bat, you can get down in your bankroll pretty quickly. And trust me, I've done that before. I've hit like 4 sevens in a row. Like, I just stepped up to the table and I rolled like 4 or 5 pass line winners in a row. So not just come out sevens, but yos on the come out as well. The yo is another negative. You never have the yo working for you. So the yo is always a loss, no matter what roll it is. If the yo 11 ever rolls, you're losing on it. Which, is that bad or good? I guess it just depends on when the dice roll. But personally, in my opinion, I like to have as many or as least amount of numbers that are always losers. For me personally, the 7 is like the only number I like to always lose. So that narrows it down to one number. However, I know some of you are going to be saying, well, the yo rolls way less than the 7, and you're right. You're right about that. It's just, for me, it's only one number I have to worry about, because like I said, in this situation, the 7 isn't working for him and the yo isn't working for him. So it's only for one roll. You get past that one roll, then you're in better shape. But just that random time that the pass line just keeps winning and winning and winning, that's going to hurt you. So that's another negative I have down is the pass line. If you're on a hot streak of the pass line, you're going to get crushed with this strategy. Lastly, hot rolls. Hot rolls are going to kill any dark side strategy, so that's a negative. But do those happen that often? Not super often, but they do happen. Okay, lastly, for my negatives or my cons of this strategy is repeaters, and most importantly is the 4 and 10 repeaters. It's not as likely to happen, but it can. And if you get on a hot string, or I guess a cold string for this strategy of 4 and 10, just repeat. And I'm sure for those of you that have been following House Money for a while now, you've seen on this table, in these dice roll right in here, you've seen those 4 and 10s just pop. And with a strategy like this, the 4 and 10s are just going to kill you. They're going to wipe you out. Are they likely to happen? No, he is correct in his assessment that statistically you should be better more often than not with those 4 and 10s. However, in reality, it happens, and it seems to always happen when you go try to do it, right? Just a little bias in there, but it does happen, so that's one thing. All right, let's move over to the positives and what I like about this. What I like about this is, while everyone else at the table is losing, you are winning, and I do like that. Short rolls are killers for most people. Short rolls are winners in this strategy, and I like that. Craps numbers. You got craps numbers in your favor, so I like that. But, however, it's only the 2 and the 3 that are in your favor. The 12 just push at any time. So, again, there's another number that you can't win on ever with this strategy. The 12 and the 11, you can never win on it. That's 2 numbers that you've just taken out of your possible wins. Are they likely to happen? Again, no, not really. Those are 2 numbers that shouldn't roll that often, so do you have to worry about them? Not necessarily, but it's like in roulette. Do you have to worry about the 0 and 00? Not that often, except for when it rolls. Okay, and last thing that I really liked about the strategy is, once you do set your points and stuff, the 7 out is your friend, just like any other dark side strategy, and that's always fun. That's always nice to know that the most common number to roll is in your favor once you have a point established, so that's good. Let's go through the dealers. Let's talk about a little bit about the dealers. I just wrote down some quick notes about the dealers. This strategy is pretty easy to follow, especially for any dealer with a decent amount of experience. I think he or she's going to pick up on it really quickly, and I don't think they're going to be like, it's not like some of these strategies on YouTube that it takes a lot of work to set some of these strategies up. And this one is very simple. In all honesty, it's mainly on you. to put the don't pass and the odds and the don't come. So all the dealer is really doing is just moving the don't comes, taking your odds on any of the 4s and 10s that you might have, and then just move and then paying you off. But that's not a lot of work for most dealers. That it is continual work, so that's a little bit of a negative, I guess, for the dealer's perspective. But it's not that hard. It's they're not doing a lot. You're actually doing almost as much as the dealers are doing. You're setting up most of your bets. So that's good. I still think you should tip the dealers all the time, but and this is a strategy that requires a little more work than some. Like, if you're just doing a 22 inside, same betting, that is super simple. Whereas this one, I don't think it's that hard for them to follow, and I think they'll help you out. They might, as long as you got a good dealer and you're tipping, they might even help to remind you, hey man, I need your DC. You got $10 for me? I need your DC. You didn't put it back up. That's one reason to tip them, to make sure that they are with you. They help you. They might remind you to put up that DC. All right, so before I go through my personal take of this, let me go through a little side notes, some extra notes I wrote down about this strategy. Big AZ, just one quick thing about the video itself. If you wouldn't mind, please learn autofocus, or not autofocus, manual focus. Again, that's just a criticism of the video itself. When you keep zooming in and out, it tries to keep autofocusing. It just made it a little distracting for me. Again, you're doing great and everything. It was just was something that the first few times I was like, okay, no big deal, but it was like the whole video it kept doing that, where it tries to focus because you're moving in and out of the scene. So if you might want to just learn how to manual focus, and that'll make your videos look a little better. The next thing about this is what I was just talking about with tipping your dealers. You got to remember that you always have a bet you need to be betting. You always have some money. You have the $10 continual bet on the DC. So remember your bets. That's one thing that I noticed in his video, was sometimes he would forget it. So in the casino, if you're tipping, they might be nice and they'll be like, okay, you've been doing this the whole time. Go ahead, give me the 10 and I'll set you back up. But you can't count on that. So it's up to you to remember where your bets are going. And then I mentioned it kind of in the negatives, but hot rolls are just going to kill you. And that was why I upped the bankroll, because you may or may run out of money if you get on a hot roll, which for me, that's not as fun, because on hot rolls, you could be killing it if you're on the light side. And this is going to transition to what I personally play it. In all honesty, probably not. I do like to switch from the light to the dark, but normally when I switch to the dark, I just do a flat bet on the don't pass, and that's it. I'm not a dark side player, so to speak. I would say this strategy is almost like a power press for the dark side. Not quite, but it's almost like that. It's a very aggressive dark side strategy. But still, remember, I put down the volatility was not that high, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so would I play it? Probably not, but who knows? I won't say I'll never play any strategy, but I'm going to stick with I probably wouldn't. That doesn't mean you shouldn't. That doesn't mean, again, just because it doesn't have my endorsement doesn't mean much of anything. It's just me personally. So my overall take, dark side players are going to love this strategy. I think some of your first video where you went on that like 30 roll, that wasn't the best representation, obviously, of that strategy, but I think in the long run, you could definitely have a lot of fun with this strategy. And again, you're killing it on cold tables, which most people are losing their butts on cold tables. You are absolutely killing it, that's going to be fun for you. You just gotta make sure that the 4s and 10s don't repeat. And again, you're hoping for shorter rolls, but my overall take is it's a good strategy. Dark side players will obviously like it. Light side players, it's kind of irrelevant. This is a strategy just for dark side players. That's pretty much it. My overall take is it's good. It's a good strategy. It's a good, solid strategy. All strategies can win. All strategies can lose. This is pretty focused on just a certain type of player, meaning the dark side players. But, you see nowadays some people are trying to incorporate the dark and the light. In my opinion, I prefer a player to just stay on one side. Pick a side and go with it and try to win on whatever side you think is best. I prefer you to just pick one way or the other. I don't care which way. Me personally, I fall more on the light side. But if you like the dark side, then by all means, go ahead and do it. And I think you could play this strategy and it would work for you. So I'd say it does get my stamp of approval, but I personally probably wouldn't play it. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys like it. I know it's a bit of a longer video, but I want to give you my full review. Maybe in the future I'll try to shorten these down, but because Big AZ was so quick to announce that he wanted my review of it, I wanted to do a full review, and I had a lot of bullet points I had to get through, so sorry this is a little bit of a longer video than usual, but it is what it is. If you guys like this, again, I know longer videos aren't typically your guys' thing, but if you did make it to the end, please leave me a comment. Let me know if you would like me to try to shorten these or what. But that's going to do it for my review, my first review here in the house. And we got a good one. We got a stamp of approval from the house for Big AZ's Don't Pass for Dummies. So good job, Big AZ, and I'll be seeing you all in another future video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I got a new Snapchat channel, or new Snapchat handle, I guess. So you can go ahead and search House Money on either of those networks, and you'll find me. You can add me, and that's one way to keep up to date on what I'm up to. But anyways, I'll be seeing you guys later, and before you all go, you know the drill. You're welcome back here in the house anytime.